Okay, this meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Ledger, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. So I hereby call this meeting to order. The participants, the roll call is John Lawler, John Rice, Michelle Balconi, and hopefully Kristen. She's not official yet, so, but we have people on the committee. All right, that's the roll call. We have 2 meeting minutes due to the excellent work of John on May 9th and April 11th. Do I hear any discussion about any issues with those meeting minutes? I think they were short, sweet, concise, and to the point. Going once.
Yep. All in order.
Okay, motion to approve.
Seconded.
All right, John Lawler.
Aye.
Dave Jones, aye. John Rice.
Aye.
All right, the meeting minutes are hereby approved, and I am pleased to mention that I think we're all up to date on getting things posted, right, John?
Yeah, I finally just today got Joe Lindsay to post everything that wasn't approved and make corrections to some of the 2022 minutes that were sitting uncorrected. So
Okay.
Everything's in order up until the end of March at this point.
Okay. Procedurally, are we doing the right thing on posting and whatnot? I've kind of lost track of.
I think the unlock has been to send the minutes to multiple people and CC Carol Falvey.
Right, she's the town clerk.
Right, and so then it gets done.
Okay.
In the past, I was relying on the goodwill of one person who was not responding to me. So, I think we're in the clear now.
Okay. In general, I find with my dealings with the town, using the administrative title as the email address generally is more productive because then somebody covers it. So in other words, town clerk at Hingham, and like if I send an email to Tom Mayo, that's different from sending an email to town administrator. So
right.
So good. All right. The other thing we have on the approvals list is I think last time we wanted to approve Harbor Media's annual report. I didn't have any problems with it. Is there any discussion on the annual report because we're supposed to approve that? Correct, Michelle? Right? Yes.
I'm going to defer to the cable committee. I don't know if you need to approve it or not. I just know I distribute it.
Okay, well, I did, in case, just to be on the safe side, is there any discussion on the annual report? Going once, going twice. Can I have a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right, John Lawler.
Approve. Aye.
Dave Jones, aye. John Rice.
Aye.
All right, it is so moved. If anyone asks, we've approved the Harbor Media annual report. And once again, Michelle is proved to be well prepared, detailed, and concise. So very appreciate.
I'd like to thank the team. It's a team effort, right down to making those binders that are in the select library. That's all Barbara.
Well, actually, that's a good question. I think I asked you this before. So if someone wanders up to town hall, is there a physical paper copy that someone can get?
Yes, so they're binders organized by year. So I started that 2 cycles ago, but then I just went back to other years. So it should be right now 2018 through 2022. So 5 sets. So
they just go to the town clerk and say, hey, I want the town.
They're not in the town clerk's office. They created a library in the selectmen's office and the town
Okay.
administrator's office, but I
Yep.
think they call it the select board library or something like that. So there's all
Yep.
kinds of reference materials, annual reports, outside of us, whoever does business with the
Yeah.
town, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And anyone can wander up there as long as they're, somewhat legitimate. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, schools update. Kristen, John, John, I think you wanted to do the schools update.
Yeah, so Heather got back to us today. I can go to my thing and say, because she just sent it. Hold on a second. So basically, Dave, as you know, we met with the superintendent.
Yep.
And we discussed a number of these issues previous to our last meeting about some of our concerns about the what the schools are doing in terms of providing programming as stated in our agreement with them. And just to read what Heather sort of put, the superintendent, the high school principal, and the media teacher are meeting to discuss changes to the current media class curriculum. The changes discussed will be to no longer allow copyrighted material, so materials produced can be shared with Harbor Media. Additionally, they're going to discuss a way to increase student productions. So this is what we're trying to get, and they're trying to get to. Hopefully, that will be a good outcome, and we'll hear a report at our next meeting.
Okay, and now it should, that's a good question. Should we sort of drive the next meeting kind of thing, or it seems to me we should. So like in a month or so, I should corral together and then we should meet up at town hall again. You think that's a good idea?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'll just be in touch with Heather about what the progress of that is, and we'll make the meeting after they've gotten some traction, I guess.
Okay.
Makes sense. And then I think also Michelle's got things to report on the education side of things as well, which is going to affect it.
Okay.
So, I mean, you let the cat out of the bag there, Michelle, if I haven't already.
When John and I talked, yeah. We have a staff change at Harbor Media. So Aaron DiMartino, who has been with Harbor Media 8.5 years,
Yep.
In the education access coordinator position, will be leaving the end of June. She's going to start her own production company.
Okay.
And so I reached out amongst current staff to see if anyone had an interest in filling that position. And we do. We have a new person, and that will be Christina Yanata. A lot of people who work with us know Christina, both for her help on government and public programming. Christina's been with us 4.5 years, actually closer to 5. She started in August of 2018. So Christina has helped Aaron with a lot of education programming. We'll have a kickoff meeting in August or September with Heather and Dr. Adams. So I think that some of these changes that are happening, it all lines up really nicely. It's nice when you bring someone else in, you can kind of start from scratch and say, what do you need to see more of us? What can we do differently? And with the timing in this new contract between Hingham Public Schools and the town of Hingham, with the cable committee's advice, I think a lot of good things will happen.
Okay, excellent. Is there
a lot of education programming? I think that's what's going to happen. It's an increase in the percentage of programming.
Is there going to be some transition time with, so them overlapping?
Well, right now, and this is such a busy time for our schools that it's always every half of May and all of June, it's all hands on deck for education programming because we have tons of requests. I'll give you an example. We had 5 shoots today between Hingham Public Schools and town admin had a special ceremony today. So our team had 5 shoots today. And Christina was part of 1 or 2 education shoots today.
Okay.
Could we just revisit so I understand what is the expectation for the content that the schools are providing? That's kind of been the speed bump, right?
So in the contract, or John, you could speak much better to that because there was a specific ask that the cable committee has had for the schools.
So John, there's 2 elements to the programming that would be to help populate both the educational channel, which is a distinct channel on our SD network.
Right.
On one hand, there's the mandate that and the expectation through our agreement with Harbor Media that they have an educational coordinator, and that person would be in charge of trying to work with the schools to produce programming that Harbor Media themselves can help generate in collaboration with them. And also, you know, it probably is also things like the town meeting at the high school, you know, sports things that they could get. In other words, just trying to program that channel in as much of a robust way as they can. And they've been, Erin's been the main coordinator for many years. Most people know the series that she created called Get Schooled, which she does lots of small segments. But there are other things from taping, you know, concerts that the kids might do, staying in touch with the different school systems, the middle school, the high school, the elementary schools in terms of what they can do. And so Christina will segue into that position. And it's great because she's already got legacy information about what gets done there. She's probably shot half of those shows. So she's going to be up to speed right away with not only the kind of content that's being done, but who the players are, and hopefully she can navigate the bureaucracy that we found with the schools, where it sometimes can be a little bumpy trying to get it all organized. Now, on the second part of the equation is the agreement that we have with the the agreement we have with the school specifically that we just had codified and written. We've had an expectation for many, many years that the schools, in return for money that we give them from the cable funds, which was, it's been kind of different at 20,000, 30,000 a year, which they have used to help underwrite the salaries of some of the media teachers. But in return, we were hoping that programming would get delivered to Harbor Media to be able to be aired on their channels. Preferably, whether it was the educational channel or now the Best Of channel, it doesn't really matter. That's a discretion of Michelle and her programmers. But we found that over the years, we weren't getting a lot of material. And some of the hiccups were, as Heather mentioned in that thing I just read, you know, the media classes would do this thing called the One Show, which was all the kids are given an assignment every Friday. They can come up with their own little like funky whatever they want to do. And many of them were using copyrighted material. They were doing like music videos with songs they didn't clear, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And so we were never able to really like appropriately put that on Harbor Media because it wasn't cleared. And we also had an expectation that, you know, maybe some of the media classes, the kids should be getting assignments that are a little bit more robust to do things. And a little bit of the pushback is that they have a curriculum that has like an introductory class, and they thought it might be a bridge too far to ask the kids to produce something that would go on in an introductory class. I dispute that personally, because I think that it can be done. I mean, it's a matter of what's your expectation of what it's going to be. Now, all of this being said, Dave and I had a meeting finally with Heather and with the superintendent to discuss our you know, issues with this and to tell them a little bit about the history of it, because as you know, the superintendent is new, relatively new. And we wanted to sort of like clear up, like, we give this money for a reason, and if you don't, we could use this money and give it as a grant to, say, Harbor Media. They could extend their grant program. They could use it, you know, any number of ways we could get more out of that. So we sort of let them know that you know, you've got to sort of start stepping up. In our agreement, we have a certain amount of programs that have to be delivered per month. So anyway, at the end of the meeting, they were saying, we understand it now. We're going to try and make the kids who are doing the One Show to start doing things with copyright. Because frankly, the superintendent said to me that in a previous situation in one of the other places she worked, the school got burned by kids flouting the copyright thing, and they had to end up paying out.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want that to happen here in Hingham. It's not something that can get to sort of glossed over. So our expectations now is that they'll start delivering programming, whether it'll be some of the One Show or it'll be the kids that, as they said, we want to increase student productions. Well, maybe that'll come out of kids producing their own things, whether it's sports programming or it's a middle school doing something about their musical, you know, whatever it might be. You'll see that hopefully the schools will start delivering some product. And if they don't, then we as a committee should discuss how we want to sort of award that money in the future.
John, you said that the schools are under obligation to provide a certain amount of programming.
Yes.
Is that certain amount contain a value, a numeric value?
Yes. 2 a month.
2 a month. And it's like you could average it out. I mean, you know, but it's 2 a month.
Yeah, you can read the agreement. We finally are getting it like signed off on. It just took forever to get it signed off on.
Right.
The town is signed off, but the super is sitting in our inbox. I think that's gotten changed. I think they've done that by now. So,
Right.
or they should have.
And
So
I actually signed off on our meeting. Heather gave me a copy and I signed then, so.
oh, okay. So then we're good. Yeah.
Right.
And
Can
so
I
it should
ask
be
a
the
question?
educational agreement, by the way, John, if you want to read it specifically, it's in that email that Dave sent today.
Right.
That has the links.
Thank you.
Krista?
Sort of dovetailing on John's question, John Lawler's question, is there a certain expectation of the amount of time, the length of what each of these projects would be?
You know, I don't think we've really drilled down to be that specific about it. I mean, I think we just want to get something from them and see what it is and evaluate it, I suppose. But I think that, you know, if it's a 1.5-minute piece, it's short and sweet, and it's a couple of those, okay. If it's a 1-hour documentary about the history of the school, you know, by some kid who's, you know, my life there, you know, that'll be great too. So
Right.
I think it really it behooves I think the school system to think about what can we give Harbor Media, what can we air for the public in Hingham, for the parents in Hingham that we can be proud of. And I think that's kind of the ultimate expectation I have, is that, you know, media literacy is becoming more and more important as an educational component. And many schools have very dynamic media classes. They're almost as good as, I've been to schools where, you know, private schools where the media class is every bit as robust as when I went to Emerson College.
Mm.
And so you know, the younger and younger, they're starting to do that. Now, I got to give it to Harbor Media. They do teach some of the high school kids who participate with them, so that there are some training programs that go on over there, so that hopefully, you know, is a part of the equation in terms of helping these kids jumpstart to be able to create their own pieces, because they'll be trained to be able to do that. And if they can utilize the resources, the training resources at Harbor Media, they don't necessarily have to get all of that from their media classes. There are extracurricular things that they can do to improve their skills to be able to produce material. And have serious mentors at Harbor Media that can help them.
Yeah, and I have to give a thank you shout out. Hingham High School's weekly PTO newsletter keeps our come crew with us, come learn the following skills in every newsletter, as well as links our education programming. They'll include that. The most recent one they included was on the METCO program with Hingham Public Schools. They just included that a few days ago.
Get a little thunder going on here.
It's a good thing you're not on the boat.
Yeah.
It's why I have a dog on my lap.
Go ahead.
Sounds like it's closer to you, Dave.
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, did I put all the stuff down? Well, it's too late.
Did I cover the furniture?
Did I cover the furniture? Yeah.
Whoops.
We hate it when the cushions are all soggy. We don't like that. But anyway, John, didn't you say that you have examples of students doing like profiles when they're applying for stuff? You know, what am I trying, like a brag reel kind of thing that we could share? So if a student wanted to do something, you know, that he could present as a piece of work, you have examples of that? Did I hear that right in our meeting? Yes, no, maybe? Ring any bells?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, some of the kids now, I'm in the high school, I would imagine that some of them are being imaginative enough when they send in with their application to college.
Yeah.
that they produce short little videos and things like that about what they have to do. I mean, I just worked on a video that was a video that helped underwrite scholarships for Nantucket High School, and that were vocational in nature, and they asked all the kids to make short little videos about why they wanted the scholarship, and they were all really pretty compelling. You know, I mean, you know, to me, it's about community programming. It doesn't have to be slick. It doesn't have to be like a, you know, finished piece. Some of the more personal things, like these little things, could be just as interesting and could make the wheel, you know, as long as it's sort of, you know, programmed, I guess, in a sensible way. But, you know, I mean, I think it's all good to have kind of some of this homespun stuff on that's what makes local cable different, you know?
Yeah. Well, the students at Hingham High School that participate in Hingham Cares, they have sent us over the past couple of years videos, skits, scenarios with decision making that they encounter. They act these scenarios out. So that's probably the most contributed programming we've received from the schools.
Yeah.
Would be, I would say, from those kids, because that's part of the organization or the club that they're in. So that's a bit of outreach we can do also with certain clubs. There's a veterans club we do a piece with every year when they show support for the veterans. That's a club at the high school. We do a piece with them every year. So other ways that video production classes, for sure, they're receiving cable money. So that's, I was really pleased to read Heather's email, but there are other groups and clubs we can work even, you know, more with.
Yeah, there's also
Those
the sports programming that could, you know, be included.
Yeah. What's
The
that?
videos that we made with the kids through Hingham Cares was done on Senior Service Day. So it wasn't through the SAD program at the high school. And so we made 2 last year. We made 1 this year. They were driven by the kids, written by the kids, starring the kids. I simply filmed it and then did the editing for it. So, but that was outside of, I mean, it was granted, it was using seniors during school time, but it was outside of a school program or a school club.
Okay.
I mean, I think that we also, when we first talked about giving the money to the schools, we just a little history. We helped underwrite a robotic camera in one of the lecture halls, with the expectation that we could maybe have some lectures, seminars, whatever they do in there, that teachers use that room, and that we could videotape those and we could air those. So it wasn't just limited to just student stuff. It was also, could there be things that would, because I think our intent was to kind of give more robust programming to the educational channel, not so much just it being a student production kind of thing. And that to me still stands. If the teachers, if they wanted to do that, I mean, you don't necessarily need the robotic camera. You know, you could set up a little seminar series and tape that. You could tape a lecture with a couple of cameras that the kids could do, or could just even fix cameras if it was set up the right way. So I think that there's other ways in which they could fulfill that obligation. But I just think that, you know, we would like to get something in return.
Overall, I thought it was a productive meeting, and to Michelle's point, it's great that we can now kind of coordinating, you know, the new person at Harvard Media, the new person with the schools, so we're all kind of starting fresh, and that's great. You know, we can get this thing going. So I'll take the well, when Heather gets back, we can get an update from her personally, and then if we want to meet again or have some kind of regular meeting, I'm more than willing to do that. So, okay, makes sense. All right, so that's oh, and also hopefully you guys have seen the link. Michelle has from the Harvard Media point of view, and there's an educational document, you know, the one I'm talking about. Michelle has all the educational stuff and the dates, and you know, it's really well put together. So if you ever want, well, what's going on, that has all the details in it. She's, as usual, has it all detailed somewhere, and we have a link to that, and we keep that up to date, so you can find out what's going on from, you know, what Harvard Media is doing on the educational side. Okay, next up, why don't we have why don't we have Michelle do the grant update, and then we can open up the discussions on, any questions you have or whatever. So Michelle, what's going on with the grants?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been fielding a lot of questions, phone calls and emails. We've had some people come into the studio to meet to ask more questions. We hosted, since the application opened May 1st, we've hosted 2 public information sessions. We had, I believe, 15 people between those 2 meetings. We've received 3 applications. There was a 4th one submitted today. I just need to give it the skim and put it in the folder for the committee to review. And we anticipate 2 more, just from serious interest. So that would give us 6 applications. Where the applications stand now, we're probably not quite to the amount that we'd like to give out, but we're committed to another grant cycle opening October 1st, just to keep the ball rolling, keep up with momentum. John Rice and I, and Margie Sullivan. Can you hear me?
Jesus.
Is it me freezing or John Lawler? Okay.
John, Lawler's went a little dark over there, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. So John Rice, Margie, and I had a meeting just to kind of clarify some terms and exactly what the Harbor Media Hingham agreement says about the definition of an access user, and then how that also impacts the grant. And so I have spent some time with people who were interested and asked a lot of questions, who I thought were developing applications, to clarify that an access user who these funds are available to is a Hingham resident, or someone who is, the word is, associated with a Hingham business or organization. If someone is submitting an application and they don't fit into that category, they need to connect with someone in Hingham who is interested in their project and who would be, for lack of a better term, a sponsoring producer to join the project with them to apply for these funds. So I thought it was a very productive meeting, John. Hopefully you did too. Really clarified things. And this is the first grant cycle. I think first grant cycle, second grant cycle, we're going to learn things and we're going to refine things. But it was important that we had that discussion before the application cycle ended for this period and before the decisions were made.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is also well, there was one candidate that we talked with that has been involved with Harbor Media as a underwriter and things like that, and I think that they're sort of not going to be doing the application unless they told me. But there was a little bit of a conflict also where, if you're an underwriter, it would be hard for Michelle to be part of that. So she would recuse herself to the other 2 judges. So there's just some, things like this that we just got to be aware of that are, just appropriate ways to do it. That's the only other thing. But I do think that what Michelle is saying about having, the intent was to really have Hingham people be able to do these. But if they connect with some of the, whether it's Hingham Cares or it's the Historic Society or whoever it might be, they could qualify. We just wanted to have a Hingham centric sort of, application and creative, and I mean, the hard part is we're not really trying to dictate that it's got to be necessarily a story about Hingham. That's the hard part, is that you want to get a sponsoring organization. We don't want to just be there to underwrite some nonprofit's marketing video. We're really looking for things that are going to be a little bit more creative than that and a little bit more editorially sound, I think.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that so far with the applications, you have some that are very informational, and they're very Hingham centric. And then there is a fiction proposal too. Maybe the setting is in Hingham, but that's about as Hingham as it's going to get. But it features a lot of Hingham residents in a fictional piece.
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, something different. I mean, John, you had even said, like, what if someone did a horror film that was
Right.
different genres?
Murder at the Ordinary, the old owner.
Right. The night the lights went out in Hingham. That was really weird. That if I can sidebar for a sec, the half my house lost power, the other half did not.
I thought we were gonna lose you.
It was a circuit breaker, but I've never heard lightning so close.
Yeah, it's
I know that was,
I'm higher than John, so this could be a problem.
no, I'm pretty high up here. That was a rumble.
That was a rumble. Just quick question. I mean, I know there's some legal documents where we don't have any legal issues because we do have our town council to help anyone with any of the contract, whatever. I mean, you don't need any of that, do you?
It's the town of Hingham's cable funds. They can dictate that kind of thing. And I actually found that very useful, John, because you've been involved for so long. Margie has been involved for so long, but there have been, 3 executive directors. So I thought that was very useful. And I like going to a contract. Maybe it's because I'm married to a
Yeah, could be.
But I just like what's black and white. That's what you commit to.
Sure.
That's what
Yeah.
you do. There can be interpretations. There's always room for discussion to kind of figure
Yeah.
out the intent of something, but it's very clear who an access user is.
Yep.
And in this case, when I went back to people who had already submitted who are not from the town of Hingham, they've used their time very judiciously to connect with people in Hingham through mutual friends and mutual business associates, that kind of thing. And it actually refined the proposal. And I think maybe a better, stronger case.
Yeah.
Which is
I
the
just-
intent. So it's all good. It's like a good path.
Yeah, I just want to let people know that because I hesitated before that I'm now talking about the committee that we do have a legal resource that we can use. It's just
All
like
right.
any other committee, and if we need it, we need it. If we don't, we don't. That's fine. Any other
Michelle, are you
discussion?
able to share a little bit about the content of the applications that have been received so far?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Let's see.
I
Like I said,
don't know, no.
okay.
I don't think that's appropriate personally.
I'm just gonna say
No,
information.
I think that they should do it after the fact. I don't think we want to compromise anything. I think we have to keep I personally think we have to keep hands off of that, of what the content's gonna be.
It's informational, interviewing town resources that maybe people didn't know about, which I thought was a good idea, very Hingham-like. And like I said, then there's a feature. So, I mean, it's fiction. So it's a creative endeavor.
Great.
Just, we just don't need to know who's doing what. That's what I mean.
You stole my idea. I don't want to get down that road. All right, that's cool. That's great. I mean, is it like, is it possible to set an expectation on when we could have our first grant production and make a big deal out of it, on the air? I mean, or is that just way too premature? Just curious.
Oh, you mean for the announcements?
No. I'm saying our first out of the gate production that we got all the way through the grant thing. We actually got some video and we're putting it on the air. What would the expectation be that we could get something like that, or is it like just way too early to set an expectation of that?
Each application had a different timeline, but they all have to be done within 12 months.
12 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask you something? Is there an incentive for them to do it sooner because they get more of the grant? Do you award them all the money at first, or do you use
No.
that?
A third.
So there's the incentive, people want.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I think we should make a big deal out of it, when we get our first one, put it on the
Yeah,
air.
so we'll do like an intro on, and this piece was funded through the Harbor Media Production Grant. Please go
Yeah.
to our webpage for the next grant cycle opens, January or January 15th or whatever the date is,
Yeah.
so that people can see that and
Sure.
continue to build upon it and draw interest.
Yeah. No, because it would be a shame that someone went through the whole effort and then it just kind of, no, well, I didn't know you know what I mean? You'd get it some press, that kind of thing. That'd be great. So.
And we also have an article that we're writing for Greet Hingham, which will correspond with what I believe will be the second grant cycle in October.
Okay. Now, are we
So I kind of timed it. They were super nice over there because you're contributing editorial. And
Yeah.
I said, well, I'd like to announce who the recipients were at the conclusion of the first cycle while encouraging people to apply for the next grant cycle.
Yeah. Are we still advertising on the movie theaters, or is that done?
That's a year-long contract, so I hope to get 3 or 4 grant cycles out of that.
Okay.
Michelle, if the people, if someone's given the grant and they don't deliver before the 12 months and what is the recourse that you guys have? Do
You
you,
know, I need to look at, our lawyer actually wrote a specific agreement that when someone is accepting the first check, they have to sign off on the agreement. And so it would be a breach of contract. I can't say more than that without asking him. But they might have to give the money back. I'm pretty sure there's language in there about that. If you don't
Okay.
complete it within the timeline, it's considered breach of contract.
okay.
Because you don't
Well,
want
the
to do
cable
that.
funds, you got to produce something with the cable funds, right?
All right. Excellent. That's my agenda. Actually, I wanted to just spend a little time on next meeting planning. I had an idea of trying to have a major theme for each one of the meetings, so we're not all over the map. Like in the May meeting, we did the thing with Machino and O'Connor. And actually, I met O'Connor just recently on the Alzheimer's Association. He's a nice guy, you know.
He
And I actually mentioned our thing to him, and he's all gung ho to help us. So I two birds with one stone on that one. We did the grant review. I think in July, I correct me if I'm wrong. Harvard Media's fiscal year goes, June to July. That routine, right?
July 1st is our new fiscal
July
year.
1st, right? So I was thinking if we could do a sort of a finance review in the next meeting, that Mike used to do, that would be great. This is how we did. This is what went really great. Didn't go whatever. Now, the only reason I'm hesitating is I no longer have Mike, and John just left, and I was going to tag John with it.
Oh, okay.
I need someone to go through that. So I'm.
His house is on fire, so he's
Yeah, right. The smoke coming out of his. That would be good video. I'd
Yeah,
like
we
to,
could do, that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
is we could do kind of a wrap up of the
Yeah.
budget to actual.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll do that in July. I'll try to get John to do. I know he can't fill Mike's shoes because Mike actually did it professionally. But let's tag him with that. Do the finance review the next meeting, and the date I had for the meeting was July 11th. Anybody have a problem with July 11th? Going once, going twice.
well, you will have awarded the first grants by that, right? In terms of the people,
No,
by the next meeting? When,
No.
July 11th.
when do you, then your deadline's the 30th, and then when are you turning it around?
our committee is meeting I believe July 14th.
Okay.
So the applications close June 30th.
Yep.
And the next week you have 4th of July, people going on vacation, etc. So we're meeting the Friday after that we'll have our own personal reviews of the applications, but the meetings and the decisions will be made. I think it's the end of the second week of July.
Okay.
Might have follow-up questions. We really aren't scheduled to be done with that until the end of July if we
Well,
need.
you'll probably have like finalists, right? And then you'll have rounds, that kind of thing, where you'll kind of assess
I
it.
really don't think we'll have that many applicants I think everything's going to be judged on its own merit and what fits in the amount that we're hoping to give away.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give yourself some fudge factor because you never know the first time.
Yeah, I just think we're probably going to have some additional questions, maybe adjustments to budgets and stuff.
Sure. So Dave, are you thinking, I mean, a lot of times in the summer, we haven't met, so,
Well, I was going to talk about that.
yeah.
So if we could do July 11th, and then I don't think we should meet in August, because August everyone's.
I won't be able to do that. I could do the 18th.
What, July 18th?
Yeah,
You can't do the 11th?
no, I can't do the 11th.
All right, I can take the 18th.
Okay.
What's going on?
Is that good for you, John?
Yeah, I can do the 18th.
Okay. Done.
Kristen, do you think that will work for you with,
Kristen, you'll be in by then.
Yes, the
Yes.
18th actually is great.
All right. We'll have the induction ceremony on the 18th. while you were off making sure your house got hit by electricity by a bolt, I'm signing you up for if you could just try to spend some quality time or read what's on the website on finance. We want to do the finance review, which just essentially go through everything with Michelle, and is there any questions, comments, whatever. And if you could pick that up, that would be great. Because you've given up your minutes taking to Kristen. Chris is now minutes person, but I need someone to do finance stuff. You okay with that? Say
am.
yes. Okay. We have a new finance minister. Why, that was easy. Just actually, Mike actually set up on the website a pretty detailed on what he did. Prior to Mike showing up, the town was not particularly, our impression was not particularly organized on where stuff was going and accounts and all the rest. And I think everything now is going to the right place. Michelle's in her book, she's now got codes for everything. I think Betty has really done a good job on getting, so we're at a much more organized methodology on finance on both sides of the equation. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you, Michelle?
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, Mike Leary was able to track some funds and
Yeah.
some expenses. And Michelle, did you spend $45,000 on capital? Nope, wasn't me.
Nope.
So Michael, yeah, I can tell you now that we've received our most recent quarterly check from the town of Hingham, that for our fiscal year we were down 4,000. It was right at $4,000
Okay.
less this year than the year before.
All right. It's still Sharon Pavetti, right? Is the lead. Right. Okay. So
Uh,
anyway, John, I signed you up.
I'd like to ask another thing, Michelle, what is going on with the capital monies? The monies that we talked about that the town had spent before, they said they might reimburse for, where are we right now with that?
Yeah, so tomorrow's June 15th. So on my to-do list tomorrow is to send our most recent, here's everything we spent on capital this fiscal year. Here are the areas we'd like the town to reconsider paying for the following reasons. This equipment was used at town hall. This equipment, for town meeting, this equipment is used to edit government meetings and education. That's 70% of our programming. And I'm going to CC you on that, John, since you really brought this issue forward for us and said, if they're doing this much, why does the capital have to be installed at a town-owned building in order to be paid for when our offices are offsite? It'd be different, I think, if we had space at town hall, and maybe that's in the future. Actually, in 4 years, maybe we'll have space in a Hingham building instead of a private place. But right now, all that editing, I feel we could make a strong case, which you already pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, it's when we pointed this out to Tom Mayo, that and he said that as long as we run it by him a little bit in terms of how it gets done and collaborate with them, but I think he understood the rationale of, a wireless mic can get used, 30 days and be used on the 31st day at the town hall if that's what's needed. So it's like, that's
to give them, that's the information I want to give them, because when I asked for the reimbursement I think that was late fall, the cable committee had approved those purchases, but they said, no, look at this fine line, it needs to be installed. Then you brought up some good points and then talked to Tom Mayo. Tom told me, come to me at the end of your fiscal year. So I think June 15th, that tomorrow, that's why it's on my list.
okay, good.
Is good. And then I have that full year snapshot of here's what we bought, here's what it was used for. We'd like some reimbursement. And so I think out of about $20,000, more than half of that might be reimbursable. Right. Which is good, because I just, want to say again, with the new contract between Harbor Media and Hingham, having now only being allowed to keep half of the prior year's funding in reserve, but still bearing, the responsibility of paying for capital, those two things don't mix. We used to pay for our own capital, but we had a year's in the bank. Now it's slim pickings. I don't want to touch that reserve. It's only a half a year. And with the trend of our cable revenue coming in less and less every year, but we're doing more and more in terms of services for education and government programming. That's why Joan Moschino, Patrick O'Connor, that's why everyone's sponsoring, hey, we need to capture some of this streaming revenue.
Yep.
In our particular case, to have half a year's funding as reserve, that does put the rest of the money in play for the grant program, which I think is a great idea. But we do need to resolve this issue of buying our own capital.
I
Because
think
now all of a sudden we don't have the money anymore. It's very simple.
I think as long as we have the conversation going, and we don't have, well, what are you doing? I think we can work through it.
I like the fact that Tom said to me and then to John, let's talk about it. Let's evaluate it at the end of the fiscal year. That's very fair.
Yep.
And then I can share a couple of purchases we have in mind for next year, and it's not extravagant.
Yeah, and I think my experience has been, as long as you upfront say, here's our expectation, or whatever. So then when you don't get all the way out in the end, and now you're up against it, it's a surprise. No one likes to be surprised, but if you prep them ahead of time, then it tends to go better down the end. I mean, it's sort of business 101 kind of thing. All right, July 18th is the next meeting. I think that we'll continue our thing where we don't meet in August because there's just nobody around. Is that okay? Anyway, we can always do, but we won't meet in August, and then we'll pick it up again in September. The creek don't
Sounds
rise.
good.
All right. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn. Dueling motions here. I second it. I second John.
John
Second
Lawler.
the other John.
Say aye.
Aye.
Dave Jones,
Aye.
aye. John Rice, aye. And
Okay.
hopefully we'll bug Kristen to vote when she gets inducted into this.
But we're going to insist that Kristen doesn't do this scary horror sort of. I can't see her. She's going to have a light in front of her. So
I don't know.
Oh,
We need
Video group,
hair.
she's-
We need a light in there. Oh,
There
there
we
we go. She appears. Woohoo.
For a video play, we don't do too well with.
oh, that's so funny. I hadn't even noticed. I'm too busy looking at the rest of you.
Oh, geez. Heck, I got a green screen and everything. Come on. So Kristen, give a go at doing the minutes. It's pretty simple. It's not going to be rocket science. And then I'll send the recording, which always makes it easier instead of just taking copious notes. I'll give the recording of the meeting, and we'll go from there.
Okay, perfect.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate
There is a relatively easy way, Kristen, also that a transcript can get generated from this telecast, a
Yeah.
written transcript.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's something that could get to you as a file in case that's easier for you to work with too.
Okay, great. Good to know.
Thanks,
All right.
guys. I appreciate it.
Good.
Guys and girls, you're so sweet.
All right.
Neutral.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
To contact the Hingham Cable TV Advisory Committee, you can reach us at cac@hingham-ma.gov, or you can visit our webpage at the link shown here, or just scan the QR code. Thanks for watching.